Hello, everyone. Today, I will be talking to Will, with whom I spent many days and weeks and months and years discussing the nature of life, the nature of the self, the nature of God, and the nature of nature. And now that I'm talking to you, Will, I'm feeling very happy because I'm feeling very happy. And I'm also feeling very sad. I wish there was some way I could bring you back to the faculty for at least 2 more years, but all good things must come to an end. It's the nature of the world. Everything is impermanent, as your Buddhist friends will remind us. Now, Will, let me begin with my first question. When people hear the word divinity in the phrase faculty of divinity, they may feel a bit puzzled, perplexed, intrigued, confused. Divinity is not our everyday English word. So what do you think that word means, divinity?
Yeah, so thanks for having me on your channel, Anka, and I feel very happy and sad speaking to you as well. It's we spent a lot of special hours in your supervision and thinking, talking, communicating together, and it's cool to do it in a recorded setting for the first time, leaving that private bubble in the Faculty of Divinity. So, what is divinity? The Faculty of Divinity, I guess, focuses around the study of God broadly and the study of religions. And so divinity, the study of divinity is just really the study of God. And within the Faculty of Divinity, there's lots of different little intellectual pockets. And I guess you're often attributed with the enclave of Hinduism and Buddhism. So that's the sort of like area that you focus on the most, which was some of the religions that I was most drawn to in my time studying with you. So what is divinity? Divinity is just the study of religion and God, really. But of course, in a lot of traditions, there isn't an explicit God that is espoused. And so asking that question in the context of Hinduism and Buddhism was especially interesting for me. I don't know if it's the same now, but in first year, we had to do sort of set papers in more sort of Christian studies, or you could do a different track, possibly, I can't remember. But yeah, it was interesting to be exposed to those other Eastern traditions early on in my studies, and even the more sort of overtly theistic ones. Often that question of what, who, and where is God dissolved to some extent in various traditions. So I, for example, always thought of Hinduism as like very sort of God-centered, even if it's a sort of plurality of gods, which is the same in many sort of contemporary and historic Buddhist traditions. But realizing that actually that question, or the center, the apex, the God, really shifts, was interesting with you. So yeah, still don't really know how to answer that question. What is divinity? Having been asked,
I don't think. God only knows what the answer to that question is. Yeah.
What I'd be without you.
Now, now I understand that for 2 years in this faculty, you were in something called the joint track between the Faculty of Divinity and the Department of Social Anthropology. Now, some people may say that theologians belong to the North Pole and anthropologists belong to the South Pole. And yet here you are, like the longitude that connects both of them, right? Do you think there's some kind of fundamental opposition, or there's a continuum between theologians and anthropologists? Why do people feel that these two groups cannot talk to each other? Sometimes they feel that way, but of course you don't.
I don't feel like that. And I think that, I mean, and we can talk about the course practically, because maybe a lot of people would be interested in that. But I mean, specifically, I think they intersect these two poles to the point of sort of not really existing, the conventional and the ultimate, anthropology more concerned with thick description, which is what's, on the ground, rather than theology sort of up in the noumenal. I mean, really, they relate to such a significant extent. And it depends, I guess, on what tradition you emphasize, but really all religious traditions are talking about human experiences, which necessarily sort of entail a more conventional perspective at the same time. But yeah, I think a lot of the studies that I got to do in theology really informed anthropology. For example, I mean, reading like a text you introduced me to, My Socialism by Gandhi, which very much talks about the relation between these mutually sort of intersecting and overlapping circles in a global context, each circle being a sort of like community within its own right that complements another to form a divine whole, essentially, where politics and spirit are not at odds, but actually are self-contained by God, I guess. And I guess also that's very pronounced, the idea that religion can be nothing more than conventional in many different theologies, Christian and otherwise, especially in sort of Buddhist traditions of negation, I feel, where any sort of religious structure ultimately is no more substantial than anything else. But you can read that in kind of any religious tradition. I mean, Taoism, Tao Te Ching, there were, you know, Christianity, it always emerges somewhere. This idea of the two poles of phenomenal and noumenal, conventional and ultimate coming together. But yeah, the course itself was great. It really allowed me to have a sort of broader brush stroke, I feel, when I was at Cambridge. Got to learn about just so many different parts of the world rather than having to solely study a specific religious tradition. Not that many people do that in the Faculty of Divinity at Cambridge anyway, but I loved it.
Yeah, so I think what you were saying is that this joint track helped you to discern or understand some of the theological, philosophical presuppositions and underpinnings of socio-political visions.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Having done this joint track, I understand now you are going looking for God in the jungles and forests of Colombia.
Oh, something like that. I've been in Colombia for a few months now. So I came out here in early January, and it's now March, I think. Yeah. I was working with an amazing charity called On the Ground International on the Venezuelan-Colombian border. So the humanitarian crisis is still going on in Venezuela. And so a lot of people are leaving in search of food, you know, security. It's still very volatile there. And the only way in which they can do that journey is by foot. And so this charity essentially provides aid. And yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the socio-political, spiritual, moral visions that we encountered together have like informed the like personal choices with like what I want to do and what I'm interested in and what I care about now. And one of the things that I care about is trying to help other people, which really feels like central to my, appeal towards, I guess, service or the exchange of the self and other, as we came across in the Body Vatara together, an amazing text. But yeah, it's definitely informed a lot of what I do, studying theology in that sense. And I think anthropology, just like reading about so many different amazing cultures, has like definitely tapped into my already existing desire to just like explore places and experience more cultures and be taken out of my comfort zone, which Colombia has definitely done. But currently I'm just lying on the beach in Cartagena. So, you know, there's as many cultures and climates in Colombia as you can conceive of. It's like each department changes. So I've been here for months now and I feel like I've only scratched the surface.
Now, the next question, in a way, you have partly already answered it, but let me ask it anyway. Do you think the study of religion can bring about a concrete change in the world? what is the connection between all the different systems that we study in religious studies, divinity, theology, quite abstract in some ways, and the concrete complexities, ambiguities, dilemmas you are engaging with every day in wherever you are right now?
Well, I think that various systems and theories that we come across in the study of divinity can inform like personal perspectives and ways of engaging with the world, which definitely rings true for me. That things that I've learned about have actually like completely reoriented the way that I see the world and engage with people. If you try and actually radically internalize through your own practice and experience the idea that maybe the person behind our identity, the self that we see as somehow more important or pre-existent or central to everything, maybe doesn't exist, that all of our presuppositions are actually related to our environment and our experience or whatever sort of karmic continuum you think of it on. If you really try and actualize that, I think it changes how you interact with people and how, but that's an intellectual thing, I guess, and also an emotional thing, and they're often not in sync. So in that way, I think that, yeah, learning about certain things can really inform how you want to change the world or how you engage with the world. But it's just a different emphasis, isn't it, really? I mean, religion is, as everyone knows, or many people know, still so central to so many cultures and people's lives. Whenever we stopped for caminantes on the road from Cucuta, just by Venezuela, you know, the intense emotional joy that people experience from that sign from God, at least with many Venezuelans, is like, yeah, it's just God is the center of their life. I'm never alone if I'm with God, as many people would always say. Gracias a Dios. And yeah, but I don't know.
One place where the revolution starts, not the only place, but one place where it starts is the self, is the mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah, it's an internal transformation, and I think studying theology and then also going through this incredible experience that I have just been through and still am sort of embroiled in a way, just because every 1 in 3 people in this country is actually Venezuelan if you talk to them. So like half of the country is just left in pursuit of a safer, better life. But people really, you can't change that much, I guess, which is not for me a call towards moral apathy, maybe as Gandhi would try and remind us. But, you know, things just change, as you say, everything's constantly in some sort of stream of impermanence, at least according to many religious traditions. But this idea of actually like changing the world rather than just letting things unfold, I guess, and almost like resigning that to God in a way, is something that I think about a lot, even though I'm not even really sure what exactly I believe in personally, and whether I could call that thing God or that center God right now in my life. But that idea of acting in the face of insurmountable things and also just letting everything happen whilst not slipping into impotency is, I think, quite central to.
Do you sometimes wonder if God believes in you?
I think God believes in us all. Yeah. How do you mean? I feel like you wonder that.
Well, what I'm just mean to say, if God, however we define, understand, conceptualize God, is looking out for you so that
Mm.
no matter whatever is happening to you, however pointless or meaningless it seems to you right now, there's some wider, grander pattern that you are enfolded in, and you feel somehow at home in this universe, so just not a strange alien
Yeah.
place to you. but it is home.
I think I'm often feel sort of awash with that experience, and it's extremely enriching and comforting and nurturing. But it's not a sort of like certainty or presence that I carry with me every day or constantly. But I think it's an important thing to cultivate. And also, yeah, sometimes I just think of God in that sense as change, as whatever situation you're in, knowing that you're gonna reach a different pole at some point soon.
And on that note of change, here's my third and final question. The time you have spent in the Faculty of Divinity, 3 years, how has it changed or recalibrated your understanding of what it means to be human?
There's a very loud conversation going on next door. Sorry, so I'm trying to think about that question. How has
We are all engaged in multiple conversations. There's dependent origination.
Absolutely. How has my time in the Faculty of Divinity changed me? Well,
maybe many ways, but just one way is fine for now.
It's made me more curious, I think. It's people like you, especially you, in fact, Anka, have really encouraged me to believe in my curiosity and encouraged me to fall deeper into things that I'm drawn towards, both intellectually and generally. And I think
have you become curious to know why you're curious?
Yes, I think so. I think so. But I think one of the best things about your supervisions is this sort of like the perpetual offers of these kind of like riddles that need to be deciphered, and then sometimes they're just words that incite another thought or curiosity that you just allow to bubble up to the surface. So I don't know if I'm curious to know about my curiosity or what exactly that means, but it's something I'll be chewing on for a little bit.
When you're on the sea beach, you can feel the ebb and flow of your fate, like the sea waves coming in and going back, taking you back to the great sea of being and returning you to the world of becoming. So,
have you been writing much poetry?
Well, I was just speaking poetry right now, right?
Absolutely.
So,
why do we need to write everything down? What's the obsession with words? As soon as we write something, it's frozen.
Why do you need to write it if you can speak it?
Yeah. I think
now, Will, it
Sure.
has been great talking to you. And when you come back to the small island we live in, do let me know, and we will meet again for a cup of tea or coffee, and then we will return to dependent origination, because dependent origination will return to us. Okay, bye-bye now.
See you soon.